Okay, in this section we're going to talk about market power and some of its implications. One of the most dangerous things about having market power is that typically gets linked to political power. The special interest groups, things of that nature. That can be very dangerous because they can actually alter some of the rules for doing business. So you've got to be very careful of that. Monopolies tend to have that type of power. What limits a monopoly's power? The ultimate constraint of a monopoly power is right here. It's the demand curve. While they control the entire supply side of the equation, they have no power over demand. That is the buyer. The buyer can always say no. You know, we typically want to think of monopolies as being able to charge any price they want. That's not true. Because the demand curve says, at this price, this quantity will be sold. At this price, this quantity will be sold. They don't have full control over that. They only have half the equation. One of the other things we've got to watch is what they have a monopoly over. Remember that idea of elasticity. It comes back here. Elasticity was the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. The more elastic an item is, meaning that it's more price sensitive, the less power a monopoly actually has. The more inelastic, the more power a monopoly has. If we look at it this way, if you have a monopoly over a prescription drug, you're going to have a lot of power. No substitutes. You have the patent on it, so barriers are impossibly hard to come over. And people have a need for that. You will have a lot of power with that. On the other hand, one of the monopolies that's out there is for silly putty. Do they have a lot of power? Well, of course not. People just don't need their item. If they raise the price, they just take themselves out of the market. So it has to do with how much elasticity is associated with that item. But the ultimate constraint is always demand. Demand matters. Now, something else that monopolies have come up with that we'll watch is that the demand curve is a downward sloping. And we know that they can sell more by lowering price. Well, if we look at that kind of as a reverse side, it means they can sell some at a lot of different prices. They can sell some at this price. They can sell a lot at this price. One of the things monopoly will attempt to do, if possible, is sell to each of these people on the demand curve at the highest price they will pay. Well, how do you accomplish that? Well, it comes from identifying your customer needs. Classic example of this, while not a monopoly, is the airline industry. If we look at it, who uses the airline industry? They really have two types of customers. They have business and they have vacationers. How do business travelers travel? Typically, we look at two things there. They buy their tickets short time in advance, and they typically are traveling Monday through Friday. Because I know that behavior, guess when the spike in ticket prices will be for airlines. Vacationers, on the other hand, typically travel on weekends and buy tickets months in advance. So what I'm attempting to do here is sell to vacationers at a lower rate, while businesses I sell at the higher rate. Reason being that business travel is inelastic. They have to go. Vacationers tend to be very elastic, very price sensitive. So I'll do that at a lower price. Do not think of this as something as first class versus coach. I'm talking about selling the exact same product to two different customers at two different prices. Can you think of a local example? Because it does happen here. While this was invented in the monopoly market, you see it in some of the others as well. I'll give you a hint. Happens quite often in bars around town. Does that help? Here it is. Ladies' night. You're selling exactly the same drinks to women at a lower price than you will to a man. Now, why can you get away with that? Well, it's fairly obvious. Men will be attracted to any place that attracts many ladies. Ladies typically don't drink as much. Why don't you see men's night anywhere? Because men will drink a whole lot and women will not be attracted to that. So they use this in other markets as well, but the idea is called price discrimination. And it is charging the highest price possible to each customer that you can get away with.